Welcome back to How the Blank, and this is How the Jackson, presented by What the Blank Entertainment. So on this episode, we're going to be pretty much just letting me talk about my origin story and where I came from and how I got to where I am today. So pretty much I'm going to start out when I was a very little kid. So to give you guys a little backstory of who I am and where I came from. And nice one, Braxton. You're just breaking all my stuff, man.
That's my job.
Anyway, so when I was about 6 or 7, my mom had this really nice keyboard. And it was an old school 90s Yamaha keyboard. I don't remember the exact model, but it was, you know, for the time it was nice because it had a really cool setting on it where on one half of the keyboard, you could set it up to where you could split the keyboard in half with the keys, and you could play one half like playing the different chords for like different songs, and then the other half, you can just play whatever you want with different sounds. So what I would do is my mom showed me how to do this actually a long time ago when I was like 5 or 6. And when I learned how to actually like play these keyboard, I would go downstairs and I'd be like, Mom, can you set up the cool sounds on the keyboard? She'd be like, yeah, I can set up those cool sounds on the keyboard. So I'm like, okay, cool. So she would set up these cool sounds on the keyboard, which is basically just, there's a setting in there where you can just click into a menu button and it takes you through all these different like songs that you can just play with. And you press play and then you click this other button to enable for you to actually play the chords and like change the way it sounds. And so she would set that up for me, and then she would just let me go for hours. And I would sit down there on that keyboard for like maybe 5 or 6 hours at a time. Like, I'm not even kidding. It would be like half of an entire day would be gone by the time I'm done playing that thing. And I would sit there, play these little keys on the keyboard and like play all these like solos with the instruments and everything going. And I just fell in love with doing that. And I loved being able to like create my own music just by like playing on a keyboard. It was my favorite thing to do. And when I got a little older, probably about 8 or 9, I used to get kind of bullied in school a little bit when we were in elementary school. I don't know if you remember that because we went to school. We went to the same school back in elementary, and no one really liked me at like 4th or 5th grade.
We still don't like you.
I know. No one likes me still, dude. Not even my wife.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine.
I like you, Jackson.
Aw.
You should
Only
kiss.
half the week, though.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. That's how I feel about myself. Anyway, so like during school, like elementary and middle school, I got kind of bullied during those days, and so I would go to school and I would come home like kind of like, oh, I don't like these people. These people suck. And so I would go to that keyboard, which my mom actually ended up giving me anyway for Christmas or my birthday or something, whatever. And so I had this keyboard up in my room. And I would go to the keyboard almost every single day. I would go to this keyboard and just start playing on this thing, just playing random sounds and random tunes and just messing around with random stuff. And that's how it pretty much went. Like, you know, holidays would come by. I would make up a holiday song for my family. And my family and I actually used to do these fun little plays and like skits, and I would play these songs. And we did talent shows actually with my family for all the different holidays. And specifically for Christmas one year, we had my cousins, my aunt, and my uncle who came out to visit us for Christmas one year when I was like 10 or 11 or something. And I think I have the picture somewhere. I'm going to put them up on the video if I can find it. But it was really funny because I dressed up in this sparkly golden suit. And I looked kind of like a white Michael Jackson, like a little kid Michael Jackson. And I had this like top hat on and everything. And I was like dancing around and like singing with this freaking pretend microphone or something like that. And I had this like song that I had going in the background. I was just playing this like stupid song and singing. And we did this like dumb talent show where I would like pretend to be like a magician, and it was fun, you know, doing all that stuff. But as I got older, I started going more towards music because that's what I felt like I wanted to do more of, was just music. And I wanted to just create and play stuff. And by the time I got to my teenage years, I started being able to actually record my own stuff into the keyboards that I had. And my dad ended up getting an iPad when, you know, the iPad and iPod came out. He got one eventually when I was like 12. And I used that because it had GarageBand at the time. And GarageBand's not like the best recording software ever, but you know, it is what it is for a mobile device. And I would use that whenever we would go traveling somewhere or like go on a road trip or just at home randomly. And I'm just like, hey, Dad, can I like make a song real quick? He's like, yeah, sure. So he'd let me make a song. And I made this song. I don't remember what I called it, but it was like the dumbest song anyone's ever heard in their life. But I freaking loved it because it was fun. You know, it was my song. And that's how it is for like a lot of musicians and actors and artists in general. It's like, it doesn't matter what everyone else thinks because it's your art. You know, it's your creation. So I loved it. But ever since that day where I realized I can actually create and like record my own stuff, holy crap, this is what I want to do for like the rest of my life. And ever since then, almost every holiday, for my birthday, anytime I even got any little bit of money, I would put it into getting equipment to be able to actually record my own music. And for Christmas one year, I got a drum set. It was loud as crap. And my parents, They were happy that I got it, but I'm pretty sure they regretted it like a month in because it was ridiculously loud. I would bang on that drum almost every single day, and it was like a full drum set. I think it was a 5 or 6 piece drum set. It had the toms on it. It was red and black. It had like red flames or something like that on it, and it was fun to play. And I played it every single day, and I would make up my own drum beats, and like I would sit there just for hours just playing on this thing. And eventually, about a year into me having it, this was like right before Christmas the next year. We had some friends that were staying with us because they had some issues at their home, and they were kind of in the middle of moving, and they just didn't have enough money to get into their house at the time, or maybe they were still building their house. I don't really remember what was going on, but they had to stay with us, and they were living in an RV just outside of our house. And this kid, he was about a year older than me, but he and I were really good friends at the time, and I let him play on my drum set one day, and he smashes it so freaking hard that my snare drum just cracked. It cracked my snare drum, like the actual head, it cracked open, and I couldn't play that anymore. And I'm pretty sure my dad just didn't want me playing anymore because he's like, oh no, it's broken. Anyway, that's kind of what happened. I mean, I tried looking for a replacement head, but the one that my dad and I ended up finding was too big. I don't know if he did that on purpose or not, but anyway, I couldn't play that drum set anymore because I didn't have a snare drum to hit. And that's like the main freaking thing you need on a drum is the snare. So we had to get rid of it. And then the next year, my parents got me an electric drum kit, which was like perfect timing because my drum kit broke, and then I got an electric drum kit. And I was able to actually use that and record it, but I never actually got it to the point where I could actually plug it into my computer because I didn't have a computer at the time yet. So I only had the electric drum kit, which I'm sure my parents were very grateful for that year because I could just plug in my headphones, play that little drum set, and just smack the crap out of these little plastic drum heads, and they couldn't hear anything. So it was perfect for them, and it was perfect for me.
All they hear is
yeah, like literally just... That's pretty much all they could hear. So it was actually nice, and I loved it.
Hey, it's better than what they hear later, right?
Anyway, but it was great. That little electric drum kit was awesome because I could change the different drum kits on it. So I could have like a techno drum kit. I could have an electric drum kit. I could have just a regular rock kit. And it was awesome. And I loved that thing so much. And then the electronics broke on it, and then I couldn't play it anymore.
So was it those 4 ones, the ones that had the like 4 set, or
it was? Let's see. So it had the drum, it had the bass one on it, which it's not like an actual like you don't see like an actual drum on it. It's just the pedal that you just click down, and then it had the snare one up here, and then it had the hi-hat one right here. And then it had 2 cymbals on it, and then 2 toms on it. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6, 7.
Oh wow! So it had the cymbal stuff because I usually see the ones with the 4 like
those are the tiny ones. Those ones are for like little kids. But yeah, this one was more for like kind of like beginner advanced
drum set.
Yeah. Anyway, so
You're
yeah,
a big
I
boy
had
now.
I'm a big kid now.
Yes, it was a big boy drum set. No, it wasn't. But so I used that until the electronics broke. I think that was about 2 years into me having it. That was actually quite a while. But and then one year when I was about 15 or 16, I got a computer. And that was like the greatest freaking day of my life because my parents didn't just get me a computer. They also got me a computer and my very first official recording software, which was called Mixcraft 7 Recording Studio. The greatest freaking day of my life, because that same day I got that computer, I got it set up. It took me about 3 hours to figure it out, got the software downloaded, got everything ready to go, set up my keyboard with it, and I was in my room for days after that because it was Christmas break. I didn't have to do anything. And so I was in my room for days recording these songs and playing around. And my favorite thing to do before I started actually using my keyboard was I started learning how to use loops and samples. And what's really cool about these softwares is they have options in them where you can get different samples that people record previously, and you can take those and you can put them into your software and you can stretch them or shorten them to match the tempo of your song. And then you can add other loops that match the key and the tune and, you know, the rhythm and everything else. And you can set it all up in the pattern that you want, and you can copy and paste it however you want. You can change whatever you want. If you want to change like the way like a part of the guitar sounds, you can click into it. You can edit that one note in there if you wanted to. It's really cool what the software can do now. And so I would sit there for hours putting in these loops and these audio tracks and just messing around with it. And I made this one song that I don't remember what I called it, but what happened was I stayed in my room the entire day on Christmas Day after I got everything set up. And it was like 9 or 10 o'clock at night by this time that I had this entire song recorded. And well, I didn't record anything on this one because this one was all just loops and samples. And that was like my very first like official thing working on it. But I was in there for hours and hours and hours making this song with loops and samples. And it took me forever to get it figured out because it was a brand new software to me. And I was just teaching myself how to do this. And I didn't know I had to save it manually. And what happened was right when I finished the song, I went to exit out of it because I was like, oh, it's going to save it. I exited out of it and I got back into it. I was like, oh, cool. And because it was another day, like the next day. And so I got back into it. I was like, I'm going to work on this song more or do something else with it. I opened it up and it's not there. I'm like, no. Where's the song? What happened? And I was like, what is going on? So I'm like looking around for like an hour trying to figure out where that song went, and it got deleted because I never saved it. And that pissed me off so much to the point where now every single time I work on anything, I immediately save it the moment I open it up, and then I save it again almost every single time I do anything. Because I've had that happen so many times with all of the computers that I've had, and all like it doesn't matter what software you have. If you have too much going on in that software, it's eventually going to freaking crash. That's what sucks about stuff like that is it will crash because it's a computer. It can only take so much at a time. And once you get so many different pieces of equipment going in and you have so much different things going on all at once, it's just too much for your computer to handle. And I didn't have like a huge computer at the time. It only had like 8 gigs of RAM. And it was like one of those pretty simple Dell or HP computers. I don't remember what it was, but yeah, it was one of those tower computers and crashed, lost that song. And I was like, okay, well, I'm going to make sure to figure out how to save it. So I learned how to save it, which is just Control S, super simple to do. And I didn't even know that at the time because I was just whatever. Anyway, so after that, I started working on another song that I actually still have it saved in my other computer, which is in my storage room. So I'll see if I can pull it out for you guys and you can listen to it. But this was like my very like second song that I actually ever created on my software when I was officially started. I did this song when I was 15 or 16. I think I just turned 16 before that Christmas. I don't really remember, but I was young and I was just starting out. And it's same process. I did all the loops and samples that I found and I put them all together into a song. And I think I posted it on Facebook actually, but I don't really remember what I did with it. It's still in my computer though. But I made that song. I remembered to save it and I kept it for years and years and years. I've had it since then. It's been like almost 10 years. So it's in there forever, dude. It's still going unless
forever. No, what I think is so funny though is that you triggered yourself. Like when you were going over and I didn't save, you got like more and more intense, and yes. I thought that was so funny because you're like, I didn't save.
It's true.
So you have PTSD against saving.
I do. I have a PTSD thing for saving. I have to say, dude, I have like OCD with it now because I'm so afraid of things getting deleted because I didn't save in time. That's happened so many times. Like there was another song that I worked on. It was actually a meme song. Do you remember that D's nuts thing?
These nuts. Got him!
That video, yeah, I made a song out of
I
that.
remember these nuts.
Yeah.
Got him.
Yes. So I made a song. I made a song out of that guy. And I posted it on this. It took me like maybe 4 hours to work on. This was already kind of when I already knew what I was doing. And I worked on this for like maybe 3 or 4 hours. And I did this really cool like bass rhythm with my keyboard. And then I had this other cool like rhythm going on with my hand and everything. And I made this really cool song. And it was only like a minute long. But I didn't save it again. I don't know why. I saved like part of it, like only half of the song, but I didn't save the rest of it. And so what happened was I mixed it down. And then I posted it on Facebook in this video, and I made a really funny video for it too. And I posted it on Facebook. It might still be floating around Facebook somewhere. It might have been deleted. I don't know what happened to it, but that was like almost 10 years ago. And I posted it up in this music group that I was part of at the time, and it blew up for like a whole week, dude. It got up to like 1,000 or 2,000 views within a week. And it was ridiculous. So many people were like, this is the funniest song I've ever heard. This is so funny, blah, blah, blah. And then I forgot about it for a while. And then I tried opening it up again, and like half of it was missing. I was like, what the heck is going on? So I tried to remake it, and I just can never make it the same again. So anyway, with those couple of experiences, I've taught myself, like, you have to freaking save every step of the way or it's gone. And that's the thing about these softwares is some of them don't automatically save. So you got to be careful with that. But you know, ever since my high school days, I've been teaching myself a lot more. And when I was 18, I moved out of my parents' house to go to school at Utah Valley University in Orem, Utah. And I was 18 at the time, and I was living in this little apartment. It was just student housing, so it was like super cheap, but it was expensive for me at the time because I was working full time at a piano repair shop. Actually, by the way, I actually used to repair and rebuild pianos at this place called Brigham Larson Pianos. They're a really awesome shop. They do a lot of really cool stuff there.
Yeah.
And I used to work there as a piano tech, and I worked 40-ish, 50-ish hours a week, Monday through Friday. And I tried to give myself the weekends at most to just work on music at home because I was trying to go to school, I was trying to work full time, and I was trying to keep my hobby going because that's what I loved. I loved music, and almost every job that I've had since I was about 15 or 14 has always been within music related, except for when I was, I used to work at a scout camp between Yellowstone and the Tetons. Where I would just do like counseling, and I did a lot of like backpacking and climbing tours and stuff like that out there in Yellowstone. That was fun.
And you made it. You're like your first album covers on.
I did,
SoundCloud,
yeah.
Based off your pictures. From
I did
Yellowstone.
actually, yes, I did. So yeah, when I was working there, I actually did that with my first like major EP that I made when I was like 19, and I did these I took these really cool pictures and these videos when I was out in Yellowstone because I would be out there for an entire summer, like 4 months. I think it was from June to the end of August, something like that. So it was like 3 months, but. Yeah, and so I took a whole bunch of pictures and I used those in my albums. But when I was 18, I was living in Orem. I was working at this piano shop and I was working full time there. And I didn't have enough time or money to pay for school and even go to school. And so eventually I made a deal with my the owner of the shop at the time. I was like, hey, so I still need to be able to go to school and learn because I was trying to go to a production class, like music production 101 is, kind of just what it was. But I really wanted to learn more about how to do this stuff properly. And what kind of happened was I started going to classes and I had to take this piano class. And my problem is that I can't read music. I'd never been able to read music. I took piano classes. I took music reading classes. I was in the high school band and middle school band, and even elementary in 6th grade. That's when I started band. And it was just like I just could not pick up the idea to be able to read something on paper and translate it into my hands and my mouth or whatever it was that I was playing with. I just could not do it for some reason. It's like, am I stupid or something?
Yes.
Dyslexia.
Yeah, it's like music dyslexia or something. But
So you just can't read in general. No, just kidding.
yeah, I just can't read. No, but I can't read music though, which is the weirdest thing about what I do because I'm produce and create music, but I can't read music. It's the weirdest thing. And every time that I've ever tried, like especially in band, my band director got so pissed at me one time. I don't know if you remember Mr. Edwards, if you ever met him or whatever, but he was a funny dude. He was a strict dude in band. He used to throw shit across the room at people that weren't doing their things right. And I remember one time he had me and all the trumpet players, because I was playing trumpet in 7th and 8th grade. That's what I did. And he had all of us trumpet players learn how to play taps, or not taps. It was what's the one in the military where it goes
Morning call.
Morning call, yeah. So he had us practice that, and he gave us all the sheet music because it was for this big football thing or something like that was going on at the school, and he wanted at least one of us to be able to play it. Gave us all a whole week to play it, learn it, and practice it. I couldn't do shit. All I could do was just play it from hearing it. Like, that's all I could do. I pulled it up on YouTube, and I was listening to it, and then I would play it a little bit. And he comes up, it's a week later, and he's like, okay, did you guys learn it? Did you guys get it down? And we're like, yeah. And like, I'm trying so hard to like, yeah, I totally learned it, right?
You're like, totally.
I was like,
I totally learned it.
I was like 12 or 13 or 14. What's 7th grade? That's like 13ish.
Yeah, 13, 12 to 13.
Yeah, so I was about 12 or 13 or something like that. I was like 7th-ish grade. And there were like 6 or 7 trumpet players. And it was actually kind of big for that section. And he comes up to all of us and he's like, okay, did you guys get it down? Who's going to be the one who's going to be able to do it? And I'm like, oh, this is not good, because I couldn't read it. And so he puts, there's this thing called it's like a portable stand that you can put on the bell of your horn that you're using. I don't remember what that's called, but it's just this little portable stand, and it has the sheet music on it. And all of the other trumpet players, they're starting with one person over here. He's making his way, and I'm like 4th in line, and so I'm like sitting there like shaking in my little boots,
Sweating
and I'm like
bullets.
Yeah, I was freaking out, dude. I was like, oh my gosh, this is not good if I can't get this down. And so I'm like nervous as hell, freaking out, and it gets up to me. He's like, all right, Litchfield, did you do it? I'm like, yeah. And so he's like, okay, go play it. And I'm like, I'm like trying to play it, and he's like, why aren't you looking at the music? I'm like, I can't read it. He's like, you've been in my band for 2 years and you can't read music? What the hell? I'm like, he almost kicked me out of the band that day too.
But when
Really?
you think about it, who does this reflect on, teacher?
It was crazy. But the thing about it though was with all of the other songs that we played, I was actually either just a backup player, so I could easily just pick up the chords and the tunes just fine, and I could just play along with everybody else because I could just play it from listening. And that's kind of where my talent was coming from, was being able to listen to everybody else play and then play it the way that they're playing it. And then eventually I got to the point where I started moving on from trumpet. I went on to the tuba. I didn't need to know how to read music for that. I just needed to know, like, what key are you guys playing? And let's just start playing and I'll figure it out. So that's kind of what happened. I started doing all the bass stuff. And then for pet band, I started doing drum set. And that was actually the best part because I didn't have to know how to read music for that at all.
You just had to know the key, right?
Not for drum
Not
set.
The key. Oh, you just
the
had
rhythm.
The rhythm,
yeah, the rhythm.
yeah.
And dude, it was so awesome because I could just make up my own freaking rhythm and nobody even knew. No one knew the difference. It was the greatest part because I could just sit there and just, for whatever it was. But it was pretty fun because I could seriously just play whatever I wanted as long as it matched the rhythm and the song. That's all that mattered. And the worst, I hated playing the song. It was you know that song? Come on.
No.
No.
That was embarrassing. I don't remember what it was called, but
Entertaining for us.
yeah, it was an older song, but it was like really popular for a while, and I hated playing that because it was like the dumbest song for me to play. It was like the most basic rhythm, but so that's what we did, and then so when I was in college, I ended up moving into this apartment, and they had to move me back out of the apartment to this other one, which ended up being more expensive than the one that I was supposed to be in because of some reason. They were doing like renovations or whatever. And so they moved me into this other apartment, and I got into this apartment. I was the only guy in there, and there was some other random person cleaning up or doing something like that. And I found this guitar that was sitting on this couch. And I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. There's just a random guitar here. So I sat down and just started playing with it. What? Oh, anyway, so
Thanks, dude.
no. I'm like hallucinating over here. But so I found this really nice black guitar, And I found it on the couch when I walked in, and I just picked it up and started playing around. And, you know, I didn't even know how to play guitar at the time. I was just playing around with it. And this guy, he was a maintenance worker there, and he walks out and he sees me playing it for a minute, and then I'm done playing it. And then he goes back and does this thing, and I start cleaning the guitar because I was like, oh, this is a really nice guitar, and this is my first guitar I've ever actually played. And so
So you're prepping it to take home.
well, what happened was I was cleaning it, and the maintenance guy, he comes back out, and he sees me cleaning it and like taking care of it, and he's like, that's a really nice guitar you got there. I'm like, it's not mine. I don't know. I just found it in here. He's like, yeah, you should keep it. I was like, what? And he's like, yeah, you should keep it. And it was actually his guitar, but he gave it to me, dude. He literally
Do you
just
still have it?
No, I don't. I got rid of it. I think I traded it for this one over here. Actually, I traded it. I think I gave it to my grandpa at the time, about a year after I had it, because I took that guitar to, let's see. So I took this one to camp when I was 18 and 19, but the black one I had from when I was in college, trying to figure out college stuff, and then up to the year after that, I had it for a little bit, and then I traded it with my grandpa, and then he sold it at Guitar Center. Literally, when I was working there, I was working at Guitar Center, and he sold it to the guitar guy when I was working there.
I'm gonna make you watch.
It was really funny. It was actually really funny. I used to work at Guitar Center as well, and I was actually the pro audio guy, so I was doing sales at Guitar Center, doing all the sales of pro audio stuff, and a lot of people actually loved me because I knew what the frick I was talking about when it came to certain things. But I was having a lot of fun working at Guitar Center, and I met a lot of guys that did a lot of hip hop and rap. And so what I did was I started getting interested, and I introduced myself to these guys that were doing all this hip hop stuff and whatever. And a couple of the guys worked at Guitar Center with me, so I already knew them pretty well. And I showed them like how to play like certain things on the keyboard and how to play on like the drum pad from Machine. And I was just messing around with it one day, and this guy came up to me. He's like, "That's really cool. How'd you learn how to do that?" I'm like, "I don't know. I just started playing it." And
So do you think you have perfect pitch? Like, cause it seems
no,
like cause it seems like where you can hear something and play it.
yeah, for the most part.
So that's what perfect pitch is.
Yeah.
Is where you can like hear it, play it, because that's what's cool. Is
Yeah.
like people that know that.
It does take me a minute to kind of figure it out because I'm not like that talented when it comes to playing in tune or like playing like that. But it does take me a minute to figure it out. Anyway, but there's a lot of other stuff that I could go on about. Anyway, but I'm here now, and now I'm working on projects for Captain Talltail, and we're still getting some more stuff set up, and there's a lot more going on. But anyway, you guys can follow us on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and wherever else you can find us at.
On Spotify.
And Spotify for our audio stuff, and YouTube for our videos. And we're trying to make these as fun as possible. And so, yeah, anyway, don't hesitate to reach out to us for any questions or any inquiries or anything.
And
So
comment what you want to see.
Yep.
Please
Let us
let
know.
us know what you want more of.
Yeah. well, bye.
Bye.